I got no sound. Should we sing the theme song?
Selling high. We'll sing it because you guys may or may not hear the audio, but that's okay. That's
If you
okay.
guys don't know the theme song by now, I don't know what to tell you.
This is like at a concert where we let you sing along to get you extra amped, and then you say how good the live show was. Same thing.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, let's kick today's live stream off, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning from paradise. It is Wednesday, December 17th. My name is Crypto Amaru, joined as always by Crypto Hitman. We have a slate of awesome stories for you guys today. Big stories. Big stories. The headline is China selling Bitcoin. Is China the reason why we've been dumping? Why we dumped down to $80,000? From 126K. Can't be the sole reason, could they? We will dig into that theory and that speculation. I think there's something to it, frankly, here on today's show. The other story I want to get to, we have many stories, but another big story, I think, is the Pump Fund lawsuit filed by a notable crypto lawyer, Berwick Law. They've known to go after a lot of big protocols. AVAX is one that comes to mind. Really, a lot of egg on the face of Solana itself and the foundation, the insiders over there, if you are to believe the claims in that lawsuit. We'll discuss whether we think this lawsuit has any merit, and then more importantly, does it have a long-term effect on Solana if Pump Fund is to be taken down? So we will discuss that. And then we got some cool charts and sort of correlations to show you guys. We could be looking at a Bitcoin price pump here pretty soon, guys. I know everyone's expecting a dump, but history would tell you that we're actually in for a big pump, and we will get to why that may be from a chart standpoint. Okay. First of all, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. That was a big intro, so we got to have a big show here. You had to make up for them not hearing the song and them singing along. But, yeah, doing pretty good. A little chilly here, but ready to talk about the markets. We'll see what's going on. I know it's red today, but history,
China!
This news, China. Who knows? Maybe some hopium. Maybe Hexbull will come in and say we're idiots and we're going to 40,000. Maybe Hexbull will be right, or maybe Crypto Paradise will be right and we'll live on into glory here in the next couple months. What do you think?
Oh, I know we'll live on no matter what. I know this industry is going to live on no matter what. I know Bitcoin is going to hit all-time highs again no matter what. When that all happens, that's the multi-trillion-dollar question. So, yeah, a little bit of weakness in the market today. Nothing too severe. I mean, we're kind of just hanging out where we were yesterday, no?
Yeah, I mean, you can see here, again, these are all of our previous sells. The drop-off, we got 66% long Bitcoin. Still could buy. Haven't pulled the trigger down in here. Just, having some caution in case Hexbull is correct. We'll see. But as you see, we've been talking about it. Holding right in this buy zone here, which is great. This is a very important band. Higher lows now 3 times in a row. We caught ourselves overnight, and now we're getting a little bit of a green candle on this 4-hour candle. I know for the day it's down 0.3%, but on the 4-hour candle we are slightly green to 87,570. Now, will the sellers strike again and sell on our heads here in 22 minutes? Who is that? We will talk about that shortly after we look at the Ethereum chart. But again, nothing too glaring here. Still higher lows. Still at the lower end of RSI, lower end of the technometer, and a green candle on the 4-hour. We need to get above this yellow line. This is overhead resistance, and get back in between the yellow and the red like Ethereum was to try to continue to build higher. Again, I would love 95,000 by the end of 2025. And look where that is. That would be right at overhead resistance. The 300 MA would serve as that resistance, but that would put MicroStrategy in the green and put a much different flavor of valuation and price performance on Bitcoin. If we can just get up there, what do we got, 14 days or something like that, We've already been up there a couple times not far ago. How is Coinbase and Ethereum doing today with this kind of price action? Well, Coinbase catching itself slightly green today on the market open. It's only been open for 7 minutes, but it is up $5 per share. Maybe I need to buy this back. What's interesting here is we are still low on the RSI, but the technometer is already getting very hot, but we just saw it flip back down. So neutral on the tech, low on the RSI, and maybe some upward momentum. But the reason I haven't bought it back yet, even though we sold at 370 and we're down to 256 a share, this is a bearish cross. If this yellow line crosses from above this red line, that's a bearish cross. Well, Nick, it's a lagging indicator. That is true, but that does mean that we could see further weakness, further chop in this 240 range, 250 range, and then you might not want to hurry to buy those back since we do have so much room to play with, selling it so much higher. And Ethereum, still loving that $3,000 level. It's fighting. SharpLink Gaming's fighting. Bitminer's fighting. Thomas Lee's fighting. Vitalik, please don't sell any Ethereum until we get back above 3,000. And as you can see, it fell out of this support range. We want to get back above this yellow line into here and try to grind higher. But again, this looks just like Bitcoin. Higher low, higher low, higher low, consolidating in a big mental area right around 3,000. Low on the RSI, low on the technometer. Need to get above these overhead resistances. Nothing crazy on the charts. But why have we seen this performance? Why have we seen this performance? I think it's this one. If you want to get into this might be why. Outside the liquidation crisis, it doesn't make sense. Micro Sailor is buying, interest rates are going down, whales are buying, yet price keeps dripping off. We know retail's not here, but who is selling into any Bitcoin and Ethereum strength?
I'm starting to believe in this conspiracy theory more and more the more I think about it. But in sum and substance, we will just sort of outline the argument that Marty Party makes. I love Marty Party, by the way. He was a DJ at one time. Pretty popular electronic DJ. And then somehow found his way into crypto and became an influencer. So pretty cool. But it all comes back largely to the Plus token scam, which didn't get a ton of airplay, I think, here in the West. But it was actually the largest sort of Bitcoin Ponzi scheme scam in history. It was run by some woman from an Asian country, I can't remember where, and they ran this for many years, milking and bilking, poor villagers, essentially, predominantly in the eastern region of the world, for many, many years. And then it was taken down. The authorities, I guess, seized 194,000 Bitcoin. I mean, an enormous amount of Bitcoin. And here's where it gets interesting, because I don't know if we've gotten sort of outside verification of any of this speculation. I would love to see that. I would love to see one of these trading desks or some insider come out and say, yeah, this is true. Local Chinese governments have been using our trading desk to offload thousands of Bitcoin. I would love to see some verification, because right now it is a bit speculative. But it does make a lot of sense. And then you time it up with the fact that China seems to be cracking down on miners once again. And it kind of all adds up. Oh, and they've been buying a shit ton of gold. So it all adds up. And by the way, they don't like Bitcoin because it sort of represents an alternative economic system that they can't control. The Chinese Communist Party loves control. That's their whole thing. So the whole thing, it makes sense. The conspiracy theory adds up to me, but I would love to see some outside verification of some of these claims. What do you make of the whole thing?
Yeah, so essentially they seized 194,000 Bitcoin. As of now, the current estimates as of late 2025, so maybe they're the ones selling in the morning here, they only have 15,000 Bitcoin remaining. This number is much larger than that of even Germany. Remember, Germany was the FUD. Bitcoin's going to zero. Germany's selling 50,000 Bitcoin at $50,000. Well, now potentially China has sold 180,000 Bitcoin at $100,000 to $126,000, and still they could be the ones selling every morning at 90,000, at 85,000, at 84,000, at $80,000. So let's read his synopsis here. Discrepancies arise because the government never clarifies if seized assets are held or liquidated, and sales often opaque. The buyers, centralized exchanges, whales, and Wall Street. This is the seller. Now understand, this is insanely bullish. When this is over, which in my opinion it is, the price will return to where it left. He's saying that because they've had 194,000, potentially they only have 15,000 or less as we are reading this left to sell, which is like between $1 billion and $1.4 billion. This explains the sell pressure every morning. This explains the buying by Sailor and ETFs and the constant depreciation after those buys. Now stop with the narratives. Again, is this finite true? No. Does the numbers line up? The 194, the amount of Bitcoin that's been sold, how much Bitcoin's left in that wallet, etc., etc. There is a lot of coincidences that make this conspiracy come to light and that make it more of a chance of reality than not. And if this is the case, this would explain a lot of what's going on in price action. And if it's not the case, well, it's a little bit of hopium for you that a big wallet is down to $1 billion of Bitcoin left and seemingly sold billions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin this entire past 6 months.
I look at it two ways. One, I guess if true and if they are almost out, then yes, that is bullish. I mean, we've been saying over and over, this market's no different than, your average meme coin. You need the bundlers, the ones who bought the coins early to sell out for the thing to go up again. So obviously that's true. But the reason I'm a little bearish about this story is because for a while there, we, collective crypto community, were speculating that China may actually join the Bitcoin arms race. They may want their own strategic reserve. Certainly if US does it, wouldn't China want to, not just relinquish all of Bitcoin to the Western world? Wouldn't they want to put up a fight like they do in most, if not all, other industries where there's, quote, competition? So if they're dumping all their holdings, then surely they're not doing that. And I'm starting to think that they're not going to do it. They're not going to do a strategic reserve. They seemingly went all in on gold. We know that they've actually been one of the major buyers of gold during this big run on gold. We know that. We know that they've banned Bitcoin like 10 times or more in the past. They've been on record basically hating it and banning it all the time. We know that they have shut down a bunch of Chinese miners recently. That's been a story. I don't know, maybe we can find some stories around that to show you guys. And we know that they hate if their citizens have a means of getting outside of their system of control and surveillance and everything like that. So it makes a lot of sense that they would be anti-Bitcoin and they'd be unloading all their Bitcoin. It sucks. I wish that they were buying. I wish that they were joining the Bitcoin's arm race. I wish that they held on to this Bitcoin. But I guess that's not the world we live in. They are sellers, it seems. The good news is that they're almost out and we're still almost at $100,000 Bitcoin. And we've had a lot of buyers step in who are believers in this asset, including likely the United States government at some point will start buying Bitcoin to combat whatever China's doing. So, feeling mixed about it. But hopefully it's over soon and the selling is done and we can commence up only again. Oh, you're muted, by the way.
Talking about the selling is almost done. Here is a chart that shows the average market path following the last 5 times Bitcoin's RSI broke below 30. So when I show you guys the charts, I use the RSI indicator and I tell you when it's oversold, which means it's very low, below a 30 RSI, and overbought. The last 5 times it's oversold is the pink line, the average market path, like what Bitcoin did on average after it hit RSI of being oversold. And you can see normally you have about a 20-day lag, maybe you retest the lows, and then you have a following 60-day period of up only. The black line is the current Bitcoin price. And as you can see here, the last time that Bitcoin hit an RSI below 30 was just back here, maybe 15 days ago. It went a little lower the next day. And now it is ironically following very similar to the average market path, telling you that over the course of the next 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, 40 days, 50 days, 60 days, 80 days, you're going to be above $150,000 Bitcoin, new highs. The 4-year halving cyclist will be wrong, have pie on their face. Thomas Lee will be right. We'll have more interest rate cuts. We'll have regulatory guidance by then. The crypto, documentation will be signed. And we will be off to the races for 2026. Now, does this a finite evidence proof? Well, Nick, it's only, 5 historical data points. There's a lot of 4-year cyclists that are using the previous 3 historical data points of the past 3 Bitcoin halvings. So if you ask me, this is a more full set with 5 times, and we do see here that the correlation is near 1-to-1, unlike what we've seen for this past 4-year halving cycle, where the correlation of this cycle did not nearly match up to the previous 3. So I like this. Maybe this is a dash of hopium for you, but this is some good data, and we'll know very quickly the next 10 days and 20 days if it's going to continue to have such a close relationship.
Chart is uncanny. The overlay there is nearly 1-for-1, so take that data and do with it what you will. I personally continue to believe in this asset, continue to hold. Whether it follows exactly and within the next 80 days we're back above 150, I don't know if I can go out so far as to say that. But I believe, you're always working with probabilities, right? More likely than not. What's the more likely scenario to occur? And in my view, the more likely scenario is we are higher, in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months from now than we are today. I don't know where we'll be, but we surely will be higher than $87,000 Bitcoin. And so, it seems to me a no-brainer to hold, especially if your timeline is longer than 3 months. If your timeline is years, like mine is years and decades, well then of course you hold. But I'd love to see this play out and the chart continue to mirror itself. And we have a lot of macro tailwinds to support it. Hopefully China, Wintermute, whoever the boogeymen are, don't ruin our little pre-rich party here. But for me, Bitcoin's a hold. It's always been a hold and will always be a hold.
12 more minutes so we find out if we get another sell-off by the boogeyman. Talking about what could help give us some more tailwinds is retail. And right now, retail is non-existent in crypto. I'll tell you what, retail is very existent in Pokemon and One Piece trading cards and predictive markets and sports betting. But retail is not in the crypto markets, which means no easy money for you. You guys are experienced. You got the wallets. You got the exchanges. You got the insight. You know how to use DEX tools. You can be quicker to buying than them. But none of the dumb money is back in the market yet. Retail crowd sentiment has turned mostly bearish towards crypto. That's not really a breaking news. We've known this for the past year now. Historically, this is a bullish contrarian signal as prices typically bounce when retail expects further declines per sentiment. So retail is not here, but now the retail that is here is getting awfully bearish. We know Hexbull in the house with the name of Hexbull. Made it big on Hex. Made it big on Pulse Chain in the early days. Even himself is saying it's all over. Pulse Chain is about to go to new lows. Bitcoin to 40,000. Ethereum to 1,200. Have fun. Strap in. The next 2 years are going to be ugly. And then we can start having fun again. Sell everything now while you can. And that is our local bull turned bear. And that lines up with this sentiment indicator here saying the retail crowd that is left, because there's not many of them, is at all-time lows here and expects further declines in Bitcoin and the overall crypto market.
I saw a great video from Tom Lee just this morning talking about how he's gotten rich in the financial market, talking about how his clients have gotten rich, how his bank's clients have gotten rich. And he said not a single instance has he seen a bear get rich. I guess Michael Burry might be the exception. I'm sure there's some notable short sellers out there. I think Jim Chanos is another. So there's probably a handful of notable short sellers that have done well.
Remember, Burry got rich and then recently just had to close down his fund being bearish during this whole run-up from the stock market. So,
But I'm sure he's still rich, though. He didn't lose all his money, probably.
Right.
He
got some pie on his face, so he's got a lot of angry investors.
True. Yeah, no, it's not a great look for him. He's more money in the bank than I do, so I'm not going to call him a schmo. Let's be transparent and honest about it. But for the most part, bears don't make it. It's really the bulls. It's the believers. It's the one who believe in something and have the patience and the conviction to hold through the ups and the downs. That's who makes it. Certainly that's who makes it in crypto. That's pretty obvious if you've been in this space for long enough and you see who's been selling and been making the billions of dollars, when they're selling above 100K. It was all the guys who bought 10, 15 years ago. So, yeah, the bears, they can be right for periods of time, and they can make money for periods of time. But over the long haul, these financial markets have a funny way of grinding higher, largely due to the devaluation of the dollar and the continual called quantitative easing and pumping of money into the system by the Federal Reserves around the world. Pays to be a bull, guys. Bears don't normally make it, and I'll find that Tom Lee clip and maybe we'll engage with it on Crypto Paradise main account. But look, just stay locked in here, folks. I know it's been tough. I know it's been shitty. But even Hexbull. Did Hexbull, he's not, I don't know if he's listening to the stream right now. I want to ask him, did he make money by being bearish on Hex? Or did he make money believing it, buying it early and holding and selling at the right time?
Of course, it's buying and holding. While everybody else called Hex a scam, he had to have the faith to buy, hold, and let the chart run. Let's say hello to this puppy is in here bugging me. Icy. But we got no non-so 06. Good morning, surfers. We got Todd in the house. Smash the like, share, and subscribe buttons, everybody. Whoever is selling, whether China or not, I'm glad they're almost done selling. That is true. If they've sold 180,000 Bitcoin, they got 15,000 left. Maybe they'll hold on to a little bag. Martin Max King saying hello, and Jay in the house. Good morning. A little latecomers. Everybody must have slept in. They saw the red candles, turned their alarm off, and went back to bed today. Took a while for these guys to get in the show, so you have to watch it back. But we did have some hopium news around some conspiracy theories around Bitcoin and what's going on. But we do have some data sets around the average price performance of Bitcoin after it hits an RSI below 30, which is very oversold. It says that we are 10 days away from the uptrend beginning once again. And within the next 60 to 80 days, Bitcoin will have hit new all-time highs. And that would put to rest the 4-year cyclists, 5-year cycle on, get the FOMO, get the longs. And I'm sure there'll be volatility in 2026. We don't know when the top comes in 2026, but we're going to capitalize while we can, scoop off some profits and froths while we can. And that, again, is all based on, hey, can we get new higher highs in Bitcoin? Because what the heck, Ethereum hasn't hit a new high in 5 years. And that just doesn't make sense for a cycle end.
You can't have the crypto winter without there being the euphoria. We've been on record saying this so many times. I just think it's a matter of time at this point. It'll be very interesting if that chart plays out as you're sort of anticipating it will, because that would align with another historical precedent, which is the Santa rally. It's still a thing. It's still actually a thing, guys, but it doesn't materialize until almost the very end of December, right? And so if we're talking 1 to 2 weeks for that chart to sort of start to play out and Bitcoin to resume its pump, that would align with the other historical precedent that around, December 25th or whatever, you start to see Bitcoin do well, and that's been proven for the last few cycles now. So look, 2025, bearish. Q4 2025, very bearish, and completely contrary to nearly everyone's expectations. Even the 4-year cyclists didn't think this was going to happen. And so, what's more likely to happen next? What's more likely to happen next? My guess is price go back up.
Yeah, and like you said, the potential Santa rally, here's the historical data I was showing you. Right here is where we're at, right around the 20-day mark. So, Christmas, 8 days from now, 10 days from now, that'd be right around this 30-day mark, which puts you, right at that 35 or $95,000 to $100,000 Bitcoin coming into the end of the year. Of course, we want to be above 95,000. You don't need to be above 95,000. It would be nice to do that, leave some of the bears behind, and then also flip MicroStrategy green for its yearly report, which is just going to make things a hell of a lot easier heading into 2026. So that's another indicator. I mean, it's pretty ironic that this just came up. This guy shared this. Thomas Lee shared this. And it comes in that by the end of the year, you'll be right at that 95K to 100K, which is kind of the sweet spot for MicroStrategy and really morale and momentum for the overall markets.
You know what I would love to see, because you talk about Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy, year-end reporting, and this certainly would apply to Metaplan and the other strategic reserve companies out there. If Marty Party's correct, if China's the seller, if China's the boogeyman, if they've offloaded nearly 200,000 Bitcoin in the last few months, or whatever it's been, wouldn't you want the likes of Michael Saylor to dig deep into that story and then report to his investors? Guys, we found the culprit. We know why price was suppressed, but they're almost out. Here's the proof. That's a very bullish story for him. So you'd hope that the powers that be, the wealthiest people in crypto that have all the resources, do the research, dig into the story more, talk to the trading desks, talk to the institutional buyers, talk to the sellers, dig into this further, find out if it's true. Because if it is true, and they're nearly out of Bitcoin, that's extremely bullish for Michael Saylor. It's extremely bullish for everyone who owns Bitcoin. Because to me, that's a massive overhang that's basically gone now.
We've talked a lot about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Coinbase. I think here's one more thing that we want to talk about, and it's, of course, it's right when Crypto Amaru is walking away. This is kind of his bread and butter. I'm more the degenerate, the altcoin, the fundamentalist. Been in this space for a long time. The TA guy. He likes looking at the economics. He likes looking at the Fed. He likes looking at the federal government. Well, here you go. The U.S. economy added 64,000 jobs in November, but the unemployment rate did jump to 4.6%. We talked about this yesterday. Expectations was 4.5, came in at 4.6. This is bullish for another rate cut, which would be happening at the end of January and potentially be the fourth rate cut in a row for the Fed. And then this is the breakdown. So I wanted to see, Crypto Amaru, if you wanted to talk about this tweet that you shared with me, talking about, hey, the economy is adding more job opportunities, but yet unemployment rate came in a little hot yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, on its face, this is kind of a mixed report, but if you dig into the numbers, they're actually bad, and it's been bad. I mean, look at the chart, look at the trend, and we've been saying this time and again every day on the live stream. When the economy is moving in a direction, you don't just flip the direction of, envision the U.S. economy as like the most gigantic oil tanker in the world. You don't flip the direction and do a 180 on the oil tanker if you just turn the steering wheel 2 degrees. And that's what the 75 basis point, 3 rate cuts that we've had amounts to. A very minor shift in the Fed policy. They haven't started QE. They just ended the QT. They're so behind the 8 ball on this. Look at the trajectory of the jobs and the unemployment.
Since 2022, really.
That ain't just gonna miraculously heal itself. It's gonna take stimulus. It's gonna take intervention, like it always does. And so, I mean, on its face, the numbers, okay, maybe not terrible, but this is just gonna continue to get worse up until the Fed does something. The Treasury should do something too with these rebates. I know we have the tax rebates, the tax return rebates or refunds coming in. It's supposed to be higher next year than they've been in the past. So there is some stimulus, but really it's going to take Fed intervention to change the course of this huge American economy that we're in, and it's going to take the QE. So yeah, I mean, looking at this, the only bearish take could be if the QE can't save us for some reason, and we just slip into a recession, which of course hurts earnings, risk on assets. I mean, that would be really bad. But I don't think we get there. I think the Fed blinks. The Fed's going to blink first. This is not good numbers if you care about the job market, and the Fed's going to have to do something, as we've been saying.
Yeah, it'd also be different if the rates were already really low and the Fed's been super active when we're seeing this trend, and that's just not the case. So that just means they still have more, tricks up their sleeve. They still have more options with cutting more rates further. We still haven't, used up our stimulus try, talking about tariff stimulus, whether that's 2,000, talking about tax rebate, that might be 1,000. So those are still possibilities. It's not like we've done all those things and there really isn't much more we can do to save what's going on. Those things haven't happened yet. What's interesting to me on a broader macro scale about these numbers is unemployment has risen, even though we have 3 million deportations, which has opened up quite a bit of jobs, unless you're saying all 3 million illegals happen to be on government subsidies, which they are coming out and saying, hey, like 40% of them were getting government subsidies somehow, which is insane to me. But those have to open up then 1.2 million jobs if that's the case. And we are seeing a big jump month after month, 50,000 new jobs availability as Toyota and these other big companies are investing in infrastructure in the United States, open up these warehouses, it's manufacturing, and you need bodies in there. So it's interesting that unemployment continues to rise, even though more job opportunities are opening up from these companies coming into play and from 3 million illegals being deported already or self-deporting. I don't know how that all works together. I don't know what's all going on behind the scenes. But that's just like a disconnect from an analytical perspective in my mind, and I don't really understand how that happens. But that's what the numbers are saying. That's what we're seeing, and all this still points to yet another rate cut in January. Even though Polymarket is saying there's a 75% chance of no change, Crypto Paradise is still saying here, once again, when we're in the 20s, I would be betting that there's another cut. This is the same thing that happened in December. It was at 25%. We said a cut is coming. It was at 42%. We said a cut is coming. It was at 80%. We said a cut was coming. And then ultimately it was at 98% and a cut happened. So we'll see if we're right once again. We'll see if these cuts can start building up, culminating to save the average Joe money, to get the investors cheaper capital to invest in the markets, and to flip things risk on. And we do get that new all-time high in Bitcoin in 2026. And we can say, look, there's the extended cycle. Here's the opportunity for everybody who's investing in crypto to change their life with financial freedom, finally being able to take profits, pay off debts, and live the life that they deserve for the efforts that they have put in the past 4 years.
Couple things. First, we're all going to make it. We're all going to make it. Everyone who's tuning in, Moonmutt, good morning to you. You will make it too, because you guys have been tuning in, watching, staying locked in. Most everybody left. Retail's gone. They're not paying attention. They'll buy your bags when the market's pumping. The interesting thing about the interest rates, because yes, they have cut them 3 times, but it hasn't really affected the interest rate that the everyday Americans pay on their debt. And that's because the bond market, the market sets these long-term interest rates. The Fed's rate, that's the overnight lending rate. The two things are related, but they're not exactly one for one. To drive down the long-term, the interest rate on the long-term debt, I think you need a little bit more of an interventionist Fed. I think you need some proper QE. I don't think these baby interest rates cuts, the 25 basis here, the 25 basis there, it's not convincing anyone. And it's not going to change the trajectory of the labor market. So we need a more interventionist Fed. We need some QE coming in. I think they'll come to that realization. I still want to make that $100 bet on Polymarket that they are going to, in fact, cut the rates at the end of January. But I've just been too lazy / busy to figure out how to make the bet. And I want to record myself doing it. So we got to figure that out. Put our money where our mouth is. $100 on cut. And they certainly should cut. And it looks like we got a little paradise pump going on.
Got a little paradise pump going. 89,712. The boogeyman was supposed to be selling 4 minutes ago. Let's see what happens. Yesterday, you can see we did rally into that, and the boogeyman didn't sell till after the fact, or we didn't see that weakness. So let's see what happens. This is where it would make sense for if the boogeyman sells for us to see a reversal, because again, you're coming into the overhead resistance. But it'll be lovely if Bitcoin could catch up to Ethereum, break above the 200 moving average, get rejected at the 300 moving average by the end of the year, right around $95,000. And that's everything that we've been talking about. But it's nice to see this upward momentum. Let's see if we can get some follow through and get out of this big consolidation range we've been in for quite a while, off the back of yet 3 higher lows, which is good to see as well. So if China is listening, come on, don't you want to keep a little hodl bag, a little $15,000 Bitcoin just in case fund that goes to $1 million? You're good. You sold 180,000 Bitcoin. No need to sell the last 15,000, right? Right, guys? Right?
Well, the problem with how China governs itself, and I'm by no means an expert on the Communist Party, but as I understand it, it's very centralized decision making. One guy at the top of the party could basically dictate the policy in this arena and just sort of by decree, sell all the Bitcoin. There wouldn't be studies on it. There wouldn't be committees. There wouldn't be dissents. There wouldn't be discussions. It would just be one dude who could be some guy in his 70s. He doesn't believe in Bitcoin. He likes gold better for whatever reason, right? Oh, no, I don't trust this. I don't like this new technology. Sell it all. That's, how their government works. I'm not saying democracy is perfect, but glad I don't live in that system. So shout out to everyone who still believes in freedoms. I know what 90s baby MAGA believes in freedoms. Everyone who's tuning in, I want you guys to remember, get involved with Crypto Paris. Join the Telegram chat. We have regular giveaways, contests, fun banter happening every single day over there. So if you're not already in the Telegram, get yourself in the Telegram. It pays to be a Crypto Paris community member. What else do we got going on today? I know we got that Solana story I wanted to get to.
You also got to buy some Surf token. That's how you get in the Dow. So let's see if there's any hopium for Pulse Chain. We saw the hopium for Bitcoin and ETH. Maybe we have hopium for Pulse Chain. Your hopium here would be, you see this inverse head and shoulders playing out. You have another sell-off. We hold here on the back of Ethereum getting above $3,000. You form here, and then that gives you a green candle. I'm just doing this mentally. Boom. Probably gets you back to up to here. That would be quite a rally. That would be something like 66%. Last time we saw an 85% move out of Pulse Chain. Well, what do we know? Surf outperformed, PTG outperformed, and you earned along the way. This isn't unrealistic. You can see a very similar profile back here. We did this live. Oh man, look at this inverse head and shoulders that's coming out. The measured move is going to be right here at 0.003678. And what do you know? We went to 0.003729 before the last sell-off. So well, obviously, this is the golden green line up here. We need to get above this and close above it to have momentum to go higher. But let's look on the smaller time frame. Let's get a little hopium. And I'm sure a lot of people on Pulse Chain will love a 66% move on PLS because that would do wonders for getting new people onboarded, new builders launching on Pulse Chain. And of course, our holdings of PTGC and Surf and others will rise with it. So let's hold here, Richard. Let's create another inverse head and shoulder. Get a little momentum. Get a 67% rally and start to build a new floor up here and attack this overhead resistance green line up here. This is what happened here, and it looked good. And if we would have closed up here, we would have had follow through. Remember, if you look at the dates, this is when Bitcoin and Ethereum, the boogeyman, started selling heavily, and Pulse Chain and everything else got dragged down with it.
Pulse Chain will recover, just like other alts that have actual tech, communities, utility, etc. They'll also recover. But very hard for any one individual asset or even chain to swim upstream. It almost never happens, honestly. I mean, you can get outperformance for a day, here or there, but very hard for an altcoin to do well if Bitcoin's being suppressed, if Ethereum is, 60, 50% below its all-time highs, whatever, 40%. I just don't see Pulse Chain doing too much in terms of a meaningful, sustained breakout up until the market's more risk on, alts are doing well, Bitcoin's running again. So, I'm holding Pulse. I'm holding my Pulse Chain assets. I'm not selling any of my conviction plays, whether on Ethereum, Pulse Chain, even my Solana. I'm holding my Solana despite my general aversion to most of what goes on that chain. So I'm holding my alts, my conviction plays, but if you're expecting Pulse Chain to swim upstream, I just don't see that really happening for any sustained period of time.
Yeah, I don't either. I'll look for the Solana news article real quick. It might be one worth saving for tomorrow so we can do some better research, but maybe we can talk briefly about it. Let's see. Solana Pump Fund lawsuit. Let's see if that pops it up.
Oh, yeah, it was all over my feed. And I think I shared this story in our group as well. But basically, this has been going on for months now, but the filings are now coming to light. And what the plaintiffs, which is a class action, basically a group of people that got screwed over by pump fund launches and lost a whole bunch of money, right? Yeah, look at this. I mean, this is going to be really a lot of egg on the face of Solana, insiders, I think. But basically what they're alleging is that not only did the pump fund insiders, not only were they able to buy before everyone, but they were able to buy before everyone because they had connections to the actual validators on the Solana network. And by leveraging those relationships, they were able to process those blocks faster. So they were able to get their coins faster from sort of a technical, architectural, blockchain-related basis. Not just because they knew things before everybody, which in and of itself is probably insider trading regardless, but because they had these kind of connections to the underlying architecture and could leverage that and benefit from that. That's how they were able to get, in earlier than everybody else. If that is proven to be true, because look, if this was just a pump fund insiders thing, I mean, let's just zoom out, right? The problem I see with this, or the issue I see with this whole lawsuit from a Solana standpoint, not Pump Pump, Solana, the token, SOL token, I hold some of it, is that if they find that there was this much insider shenanigans, does retail really trust that chain? Let's just assume I don't know if Pump Fun's going to survive the lawsuit. Let's assume it does in some diminished form. There would probably be competitors that pop back up. But if retail can't trust the chain itself, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think this is good for Solana. Part of me thinks this is going to be a bigger deal, and we may see criminal implications as well, where this is just a civil lawsuit. The only thing at stake is money. No one's freedom is at stake here. But to me, Solana was kind of in on this from a blockchain standpoint. That is very, very bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that surprising. Insider trading, et cetera, but I guess it's more if Solana and Solana Foundation was also profiting on this, and then Pump Fund ended up being the biggest extractor of the Solana ecosystem literally ever in existence, selling $1 billion worth of Solana from fees, then raising $1 billion extracting, and now continuing to extract while also fee-basing its entire economy. And not a good look. I will say that crypto does have a short-term memory, and this could get dusted under, but nonetheless, it is going to put sell pressure on Solana. It is going to be something that's brought up by Ethereum maxis, by Pulse Chain maxis, by whatever other network, BNB maxis, as pie on the face of Solana on why you shouldn't use that platform, product, or network. And we'll see how this all plays out. Why? I don't really know if people go to jail or not. But again, the other selling pressure would be if, in fact, these people need to have, pay off these courts for fines and pay out for all these clients and users, well, this probably means they're going to have to sell some Solana in order to do so.
You know what? I don't know if this actually is a class action. I have to look into that further. But normally, look, where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, if this lawsuit gets any kind of traction, how many other people will come and sue Pump Fund? What would stop just everyone who lost money from basically copying this kind of lawsuit and just suing Pump Fund out of existence? Now, you could argue that, yes, let's even assume in a quote worst case scenario, Pump Fund dies, right? Wouldn't there be a copycat platform that comes up? Because there's an insatiable demand for gambling, and that's sort of what Pump Fund is. It's gambling where certain people can get an edge, this and that, with insider information, whatever. Isn't there going to be then a copycat platform? Yeah, probably. So, look, there's a decent chance it all gets blown under the rug, whatever. But to me, Pump Fund's been a cancer on the industry. This is further evidence of it. And I'm telling you, if this thing gets anywhere, there's going to be 1,000 more of these lawsuits. Just like I just watched the P. Diddy documentary. By the way, I just watched the P. Diddy. That guy's a real piece of shit. But as soon as one guy comes to light, it's like, yeah, that guy fucking raped me too. And you get 100 lawsuits. Pump Fund raped millions of people, did it not?
Financially, probably.
I'm just saying. So, the other thing too, apparently Pump Fund was registered in the UK, which is kind of mind-boggling because
that's probably the worst place that I would think on the forefront that you should be registered.
Yeah. I mean, normally, you're told if you go to a crypto lawyer, okay, you got to register and domicile in some offshore, no tax, no law jurisdiction, some island nation like Bahamas. Remember, FTX was in Bahamas. Okay, you go to Bahamas, you go to Dubai, you don't go to the UK where there's tons of regulations and laws and they hate crypto. And so I could see easily this sort of snowballing, more civil lawsuits filed in more courts around the world, eventually then leading to look at Diddy. Let's go back to the Diddy comparison. It started with civil cases. And you read what's happening in the complaints, it gets news, and you're like, oh my God, this is criminal. This isn't just it was a breach of contract, or he was beating the shit out of people, right? And trying to murder them, whatever. This is criminal. And then the criminal investigation happens, and the prosecutors get involved, and all of a sudden you see criminal cases and criminal files charges to follow. So I could really see this developing in that way. Am I selling my Solana here? No, I don't like panic selling. I don't like selling up until I feel like an asset's like I don't like selling a loss. Is really what it is. And I have some Solana. I think I got it like 150. I don't know what the price is now. So I don't want to sell at a loss, but not good for Solana, guys. Not good if the foundation and the insiders were in on this extraction scheme, as it seems like that was the case.
Yeah, $150 Solana ain't all that bad. Solana right now at $133.05. The chart isn't quite as pretty as Bitcoin and Ethereum because the lows weren't really higher lows. They were all kind of the same lows, but it is rallying here, running into overhead resistance. Now let's see if it can, flip things back upside down and get some momentum going there. The problem is their best use case, their best revenue generator, their best onboarder is who we just talked about, Pump Fund, who now has a lawsuit against him, who has openly extracted $1 billion worth of Solana, sold it on the open market, who raised $1 billion in other funds, hasn't brought it to the project, hasn't brought it on chain. So when you're rooting for the very person who is punching you in the face, well, it usually doesn't end up very good. So I think they need to find a new product, item, developer to root for who's actually going to inject those billions of dollars and keep it on chain rather than extract it off chain and put it in their pocket.
The main use case for Solana is trading memes and shitcoins. It never really picked up the kind of DeFi, lending, borrowing, sort of let's call it more serious use cases that like are prevalent on Ethereum. It really was just the province of meme coin traders, and obviously that's been dead. That industry has been dead, or that sector, I should say, has been dead for 6, 8, 9, 10 months. So what is going to revive Solana? I don't see institutions getting all excited about it. Not with these kind of lawsuits. Not with the level of centralization. It's had a lot of downtime in the past. The chain hasn't been exactly like a clean from a tech standpoint and a downtime standpoint. So what is going to now be the catalyst? And you really just would be relying on meme season coming back because everyone gets risk on, liquidity comes back in the space, and greed comes back, and people are like, oh, the quickest way to make money is speculating on these memes. Could well happen, probably will happen. But I don't know. I don't like putting all my eggs in the kind of like, the only use case and purpose of the chain is just, playing hot potato with memes and pump fund extraction. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a long-term, let's just say, viable investment thesis.
I will say the one thing on Solana that I'm rooting for is fuck 9 to 5. We talked about that at a 300K market cap just a few days ago. And with the slight green in the market, Solana going from 125 to 135, fuck 9 to 5 has rallied from 300K market cap up to now 455K market cap. Quite a nice little gain off the rounded low here. For those of you who followed, we got involved with fuck 9 to 5 at 300K market cap on the way to like 5 million. We took some profits up there, gave another buyback around 1 million, 1.5 million before it exploded to $16 million market cap. Did support for them on Crypto Paradise, did some marketing for them. Still hold a little bit of a bag here. And the first time we talked about them in months was literally 2 live shows ago at 300K market cap, and now it's rallying to 455,000 market cap as we speak. So shout out to fuck 9 to 5 for staying active. A meme coin that can maybe bring some life back to the trenches, and that was a Pump Fund token launch. It was one of the most, I guess, highly performing pump funds because a lot of those go to zero. And this thing grinded from 0 to 300K. We got involved and made its way to $16.6 million market cap during the doldrums of the bear market. But a little bit of the tailwinds over there on Pump Fund season a few months ago.
Glad to see those guys do well. I mean, I think it's very important to distinguish between legit community-based memes based around a narrative that people can believe into and get behind and support long term, and it's going to be around for 1 month, 2 months, 6 months. I mean, they're probably coming up on. I remember we got involved with them.
We got involved with them May 2025.
Because it's like May, it's like hot out here. Yeah, so I mean, they're coming up on. They're over 6 months old now. That's clearly a long-term play, community-based play, narrative-driven play. Those are all legit, I think. Those are all fair game to do well, whether it's on Solana, ETH, BNB, doesn't matter. If you have a real community-based meme and it resonates with people, the narrative. Distinguish that between and compare it to the memes that launch on Pump Fund every single day, which are designed to be essentially quick pump and dump Ponzi schemes. Hot potato, okay, I'm going to buy in first, sell on the next guy, selling the next guy, selling the next guy until the thing blows up in a matter of hours or max a day or two. And that's 99% of what goes on over there. So I'm not in favor of that. I am very much in favor of real builders. I mean, they didn't just do, okay, we're just doing basic memes and call it a day. I mean, they've done a lot of different contests. They've done a lot of in real life marketing. They've been to conferences together as a community and a team, promoting the Fuck 9 to 5 vision and narrative. Not a whole heck of a lot different from a utility play in that sense. So very important to distinguish between those two types of memes. Sadly, the Fuck 9 to 5s are rare compared to the others.
Very true. Just wanted to give them a shout out because I noticed they've gone up, 50, 60% since we talked about them 2 days ago. And it's really something we haven't talked about in months since it hit the $16.6 million high that it had back in July or August.
And look at this. They're so active on X, too. I mean, how many memes from May are still this active? I can count like 2 or 3 that I'm aware of anyway that are still this active. So yeah, great work. I still think there's a place for narrative-driven, community-driven assets. Memes as a sector isn't going to go anywhere. When we get risk on again, when ETH's pumping, Bitcoin's pumping, people do like memes. I mean, there's just no debating that or disputing that. I just think the pump fund stuff, all the insider trading, the extraction, all of them, 99% of them just meant to be a scam from the outset. That doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a pretty good show today. We went over a lot, and we'll dive into more news stories and more charts tomorrow. Let's see if this Paradise Pump can have any kind of follow-through, or if the boogeyman's going to rear its ugly head again, as Bitcoin just crossed over $90,000, 89,900, 90,000, going once, going twice. We need to get above that yellow line. Come on, let's do it, Bitcoin. Ethereum back above 3,000, big mental barrier there. And yet another higher low could be in place for those assets and help lead this market higher. We need to grind higher for a Santa rally through the end of the year, get the 4-year cyclists to become deniers, get them to FOMO in at higher levels, and get new all-time highs for Bitcoin in Q1 of 2026 to put that narrative to rest.
It's interesting. My feed is now mostly people saying the 4-year cycle's dead. If you look at like the top level analysts, I think some of the smartest people in the space, the real serious, like institutional types, Raoul Powell comes to mind. There's a handful of others that are, these are older guys. These are Wall Street guys. These aren't, random PFP guy. They're all basically been on record saying they think 4-year cycle's dead. We have a new sort of ETF, institutional-driven cycle, which is going to be like a slow grind up rather than big peaks and troughs. And, you ain't seen nothing yet. 2026 is going to be the year. So, again, you can decide who you want to follow, what you want to believe in. I choose to align myself with the sophisticated Wall Street types. Who knows? Maybe that's a blind spot of mine. Maybe I should be following PFP guys. We'll have to see who's right. But 95K inbound. 95K. That's what Nick wants to see.
That's what MicroStrategy wants to see. That's what institutional players who will give Michael Saylor more money open-handedly if it were above 95,000 by the end of the year. And all that gets put into what? Buying more Bitcoin. That's why we need $95,000 Bitcoin to really make it much easier to get the next leg up. And then, of course, the big mental barrier is 100,000. And then you're going to have all of the 4-year cyclists. Their last grasp for the bears would be we get to $110,000 relief rally in Bitcoin. They'll say, boom, that lines up with Head and Shoulders. That's where we stop. But, hey, at this point, let's just get to $110,000 Bitcoin first, $5,000 Ethereum, and then we can reevaluate there. Because I don't know about you, getting a run-up like that would feel mighty fine. And then, yeah, maybe it is time to take profits. I don't know. I think we go to new highs. I think 2026 is bullish. But even if the bears are telling me, well, we're supposed to go to 40,000, but we could go to 110,000 first, I would take that at this point in time.
It's funny how the sentiment can shift so quickly, right? Like if we get a quick run up to 110, I think most people are going to be like, oh, we're going to 150, we're going to 140, whatever. I'm hodling here. Obviously, you need to take profits. Probably is wise to take profits, just given how sort of unpredictable this market's been. We don't really know what's coming. But, Yeah, sentiment can shift very, very quickly, folks. I mean, you have to remember, zooming out from a from a micro strategy standpoint and the big investor standpoint, there is unlimited fiat in the world, right? There's unlimited because they just print more, and that's not just the U.S. government; that's all the government. So unlimited fiat, right? How many trillions? Think $200 trillion in U.S. equities, something like that, or equities around the world, maybe global equities, 200 trillion, I think. Gold we know is like 40 trillion asset. Bonds something like 100 trillion. I mean, just enormous sums of money, and of course the unlimited fiat. And Bitcoin's at a $2 trillion asset, and ETH's at like 400 billion. I know these sound like big numbers, but from a global sort of economic standpoint, asset standpoint, we're babies. We're infants. 15 years this industry's only been around for 15, and actually really only like 7 or 8, because the first few years there was no infrastructure and you just used Bitcoin to buy weed on the dark web. So yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get a big Christmas pump like Martin's predicting or speculating on, but I know we get a pump at some point because you have unlimited money chasing a finite asset that's a very, very low market cap and low valuation relative to everything else.
I think that's a good place to wrap it up, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Join us in the Surf Dial by buying 200,000 Surf on Pulse Chain only. Get it done. That's like $500, $600. Get you in the Dial. You'll like that because it wasn't too long ago when Ethereum was at 4,600, Pulse Chain was at the highs before the entire market sold off, that the Surf token was like $3 million market cap, and it cost you several thousand, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to be in that Dial.
And you know what's funny too? I'll let you go. That was when you had new people scrambling to buy, accumulate, and join the DAO, right? They wanted to buy in then. They were willing to spend the money. And of course, when the price is down, everything's down, everyone's bearish. No, $500 too rich for my blood. So this is how it happens every single other time, guys. People like to buy the green. So if you know that and you have some balls, take advantage of that. Not necessarily, I mean, with just regards to Surf, but any other asset you want to buy when there's fear in the streets. And right now we are still near max fear. Maybe we're creeping up now, but good time to buy if you have some balls and conviction. That's what I say. All right, good stuff, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with another live stream. And until then, see you on the beach.